Welcome to Nation Beat. I am Janelle Norville, bringing you this brief on the pulse of our nation and highlights around the heart of St. Lucia. A wide cross-section of the St. Lucian society weighs in on the Geothermal Resource Development Project. St. Lucia receives assistance from the government of Cuba in strengthening early warning systems, and the government of St. Lucia has commissioned a feasibility study for a proposed development project at Mount Pleasant. A multi-sector consultation on the Geothermal Resource Development Project within the context of St. Lucia's National Energy Transition Strategy concluded Wednesday. The forum is in keeping with government's efforts at reducing St. Lucia's dependence on fossil fuel. The government remains committed to exploring geothermal options, which will provide stability in the energy sector and ultimately reduce the cost of energy to consumers. As a signatory to the Paris Agreement and on its path to decarbonizing operations, St. Lucia is pursuing fossil fuel independence. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ports, Energy and Labour hosted a consultation workshop under the Geothermal Resource Development Program, bringing members of civil society together. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ports, Energy and Labour, Ivor Daniel, indicated that several assessments have been undertaken in the government's pursuits.
In our recent pursuit of geothermal, there have been LIDAR studies We've had geophysics and geoscientific studies dating back to 2016. There's been a pre-feasibility study undertaken in 2017, and the pre-feasibility study recommended that there should be some slim wells in 3 areas in the south, mainly Belle Plaine, Font Saint-Jacques, and Mont Desert, Saltibus. And following this, we've conducted an environmental and social impact assessment, and this assessment has given us the roadmap to help us mitigate the various risks that we would encounter as a country in our pursuit of this resource.
Environmental and social safeguards are key components of the project, as the government is keen on ensuring that the pursuit of geothermal energy has no adverse effects on the way of life for the people in Soufrière and environs. The government of St. Lucia has also stipulated that investments are to be made to develop local capacity by training St. Lucians in priority areas to help manage and run the project successfully. Chief Energy, Science and Technology Officer Terence Gillard explained the steps going forward.
So the goals would be to provide support to the government in making an informed decision on moving forward with the project. So that phase involved really surface exploration work, which we will see what was done. So all the major upstream activities were taking place or are taking place. Here's the funding support that was received. The various partners, the Global Environment Facility, SEEDS-DOC of the World Bank, the Clinton Climate Initiative, the government of New Zealand, UNDP also provided some support as well.
The World Bank and other global partners have made available $22.5 million in concessional and grant funding for St. Lucia to embark on the next phase of the project. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, with support from the government of Cuba, facilitated a training workshop on early warning systems. Anicia Antoine has the details.
In an effort to create more sustainable early warning systems, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, partnered with the Cuban Embassy to conduct a 10-day capacity building workshop. This initiative is part of the disaster management strategy of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, to increase the knowledge and output rate at the community level. Velda Joseph is the director of NEMO.
Because we believe that in building resilience, it's not all about consultations and meetings, but there are practical things that you can actually do to reduce vulnerabilities, to reduce risk, and to reduce the impact of the hazard. We were able to identify a number of initiatives that we would like to address as a matter of priority. One of them was the issue of the multi-hazard risk assessment. And we engaged our Cuban counterparts because we recognize that they have developed a very expert methodology in addressing hazard, vulnerability, and risk assessment.
The team of 18 Cuban experts worked with a group of local professionals to implement the methodology taught at the workshop in the community of Dennery. Students of the Safa Lewis Community College were specially invited to the closing session.
This is a work that I would have mentioned before. It's not just for disaster management officers, but it's for every single person, from the youngest child who can understand to the oldest person who's able. And whether or not they're able, they still can perform a role. I'm not sure what the areas of training are at Sir Arthur Lewis, but I'm sure that some of you will become some of our teachers in various areas, and you will also be part of the public sector. And please note that the public sector, private sector, you all have a role to play. Every single person has a role to play.
CDIMA, International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, and United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, are currently working together to support the national systems in 7 Caribbean countries, namely St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and in a minor component, Haiti. From the Government Information Service, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
The government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, through the Taiwanese Technical Mission, has provided financial assistance to St. Lucia farmers as the recovery efforts post-tropical storm Kirk continue.
On Monday, the 26th of November, a total of 108 farmers from the Babono, Forestier, Crownlands, Deglo, and Roseau area received checks to help them defray the rehabilitation costs for farms and plantations which were destroyed following the passage of Tropical Storm Kirk. Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Ezekiel Joseph, addressed the farmers at the presentation ceremony which was held in Deglo.
The government of Taiwan gave a check of $1.4 million to assist farmers, not banana farmers, farmers. Because today we're here with banana farmers, but I want to say we are assisting farmers who experience damage after the storm. What we have agreed based on the program we put to the cabinet, farmers that are cutting back and replanting will be getting 2 sets of fertilizer, 2 applications of fertilizer. They'll be getting oil to spray for black sigatoka, and they'll be getting chemicals and nematicide, and $400 per acre that got damaged. You're understanding that? So if you had 5 acres and we're saying about 80% damage, you will not get $400 for 5 acres. You'll get $400 for the 80% of the plots that were damaged, because we're giving support based on damage.
Some farmers were deprived of compensation from insurance due to a clause which stated that registered wind speed from a storm or hurricane must register a minimum of 65 miles per hour. Unfortunately, for some farmers, registered wind speed from Tropical Storm Kirk was 60 miles per hour. Meanwhile, Taiwan's Technical Mission representative Mario Sheng assured farmers that the Taiwanese government is committed to boost productivity in the agriculture sector. From the Communications Unit in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources and Cooperatives, Miguel Morissette reporting.
The government of St. Lucia has commissioned a feasibility study for a proposed development project at Mount Pleasant. Prime Minister the Honorable Alan Chasney says government is in the process of completing the purchase of 17 acres of land at Mount Pleasant as part of plans for the redevelopment of cash trees. The proposal is for the construction of residential and commercial units in order to decongest the city center.
With the idea of redeveloping parts of the CDC area, the main boulevard where the Princery, the Parliament Building and the courthouse are, as well as the Castries Basin. To complement that study, we have engaged Ballas Needham. Ballas Needham are the Dutch company that did the redevelopment of the Point Seraphin berth. And they are actually doing a feasibility for us as to Port Castries and the container port, and looking at the cul-de-sac options. So rather than just talk about it, we're actually putting together a feasibility in terms of how we can potentially make that happen.
A draft report is to be submitted to the Cabinet of Ministers January 2019, with the concluding report due in February.
The government has already been in dialogues with several potential partners on the Castries port, both from a cruise ship perspective as well as from a container perspective. And we've got those agreements pending, holding, until we get this final plan to be able to move forward.
Prime Minister the Honorable Alan Chastanet as he addressed members of the Chamber of Commerce earlier this month. This is Nation Beat. We're back in a moment.
When the authority of the heads of government of the OECS and its other ministerial councils meet and adopt policies for the organization, they rely on the OECS Commission to transform these into action. The OECS Commission is the secretariat of the organization, a grouping of officials headed by a Director General, mandated to implement the decisions of the governments but also empowered to make recommendations on the strategic directions of the organization. The OECS Commission organizes meetings, prepares budgets, conducts research, undertakes projects, negotiates for and represents the OECS member states. It is organized along several components. There are the commissioners from each member state who, along with the Director General, form the commission that oversees the work programs. There are also technical divisions with specialized units between them, as well as diplomatic missions in Brussels and Geneva. All these complement each other to make the OECS Commission the engine of regional integration in the Eastern Caribbean. The OECS has a proud past, and together we are working towards a brighter future for all our citizens. For more information, visit www.oecs.org.
Welcome back. The skill level and capacity of St. Lucian bartenders continue to be enhanced. A preliminary round of the Chairman's Reserve International Mai Tai Challenge has taken place here. 11 bartenders from local hotels have qualified for the International Showdown in March 2019. The event is seen as a complementary element to the development of the St. Lucia Food and Rum Festival.
They came prepared to battle for a spot to represent St. Lucia at the Chairman's Reserve International Mai Tai Challenge in a few months' time. From the judges' vantage point, it was clear these bartenders from hotels around the island had taken their game to another level.
Presentation skills have improved as well. And as well, I think they are getting the grasp of what the Mai Tai cocktail is, as well as being able to present that to the audience.
This is year 2 of the Chairman's Reserve Mai Tai Challenge, and so the judges were looking for improved competence in mixology. They were not disappointed.
This year, definitely the participants were able to express themselves more and to be able to explain their cocktails, to explain why they're using certain ingredients, and to basically bring the audience on that journey of making that cocktail with them.
The judging panel was also impressed by the creative use of local ingredients.
And they were very happy about that, because that was actually a comment they made last year when we had the first Chairman's Reserve Mai Tai competition, where they wanted a lot more local ingredients being incorporated in the actual cocktail. We did bring that to them, the participants that is, and they were able to take that in and bring it this year.
After a few hours of competition, 11 bartenders qualified for the Chairman's Reserve Mai Tai Challenge in March 2019.
They each earned their place to participate in the international competition by creating a specialized Chairman's Reserve Mai Tai cocktail.
Third place, Ron Jamal Joseph of the Body Holiday. Second place, Aldrich John Baptiste of Coco Palm Resorts, with Craig Andes of Sandals emerging the overall winner of the qualifying round. The 11 chosen from this qualifier will be paired with an international bartender for the Mai Tai Showdown in March. The winner will be flown to Europe or North America with an opportunity to bartend at an international rum festival. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
That's Nation Beat. Join us next time on NTN at 7:30 p.m. with a repeat at 7:30 a.m. and on this station as we feel the pulse and heart of our community. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I am Janelle Norville.